Hello, my friends. I have a quick little power class for you. Been meaning to send this for a while now. How are we supposed to relate to spirituality and our bodies and our sort of lower selves, if you will? One of my clients and I were working on motivation to get things done. And just came out of our session, I said, maybe you need to get paid for some of these things. I said, what would it take for you to do something like go rock climbing? What do you like? Do you like food? Do you need money? She said, I like gift cards. Amazing, you like gift cards. Fine. What would be the minimum gift card it would take for you to do rock climbing 3 times a week, 2 times a week? Came out to be a $20 gift card to a store. Didn't want cash, didn't want this, didn't want this. And she's like, this is so superficial. This is so not spiritual. I said the opposite. This is the most spiritual thing we've done today or in a while. How is that possible? How is it possible that paying myself to do self-care with gift cards as a reward could possibly be an act of spirituality? Well, I want to tell a story and then explain a few concepts, and hopefully that will bring it out. Now, I tell you one thing. We are a horse with a soul riding on top of it. That's one definition of the human being. We have a higher self, we have a lower self. We're like a soul riding on a horse. So we all have different kinds of horses, and we have to ride them in different ways. And we all are a body, and our body, our animal self, the animal kingdom, we have to take the animal in us and we have to employ it for holiness. Now, I learned a story yesterday, actually it was this morning, there was a non-Jewish person, and he was passing the study hall, and he heard the people reviewing the story of how there was a man, the high priest of Israel, who would get to wear these holy, beautiful garments. I mean, talking about like completely beautiful, special head and the jewelry, jewels, and like the breastplate, absolutely gorgeous. And he's thinking, it sounds amazing. I want those clothes. He said, who is this guy and who does he get to wear? He asked the students in the class who was passing by. They says, the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. He said, how can I be that? I want to become him. So he went to the study hall of Shammai. This is about 2,000 years ago, right? This story is recorded in the Gemara and Shabbos and the Talmud on 31a. And he said, I want to become Jewish on the condition that I can become the high priest. Now, that's a big ask, you know. And it sounds really not holy. Like really, really not holy, right? So Shammai felt it was very disrespectful to God's holy teachings and word, to the Torah, and he chased him away with a stick. It says a yardstick. But this guy was determined. So he went to this counterpart of Shammai named Hillel. And Hillel welcomed him in and said, okay, I accept you. You can convert. And let's talk about this. If you want to become the high priest, you're going to have to study the laws of the high priest, study the Torah, and really know the qualifications, the laws, everything. So let's start learning. And he sat in the academy and he started learning through all of the verses, all of the scripture, just like one of you holy brothers who's listening does, which is a beautiful thing. And he got, basically 1/3 through the Torah to the parsha of that's coming up in a few weeks, the portion of the Torah that we read in a few weeks, we'll be reading. And it says over there that this is the 8 vestments, the 8 holy garments, the Kohen Gadol, and it talks also about how only someone from the house of Aaron, of Aharon, can enter into the Holy of Holies with these special garments on this special day, in this special way. Otherwise, they'll be die. And in fact, as a sidebar, there's lots of men who had bought in a corrupted time of Israel this job, which is not really having this job, and when they went into the Holy of Holies, they indeed died. So we know this is not a wise thing to do. Anyways, back to the story. This converted Jew, he realized, I never qualify. If King David and many other holy people, even despite the fact that their holiness was quite high, they don't qualify according to the rules of the Torah to become the Kohen Gadol, then how possibly can I, who I am a convert and I don't qualify at all, and I'm not from any of the tribes originally. And he realized, I'll never be the Kohen Gadol and I'll never get to wear those clothes. And he, I assume, I don't know, it doesn't say his emotion. We can only imagine. How would you feel? But, we think about it, he's been studying for quite a long time now, I don't know, months. And he goes to the house of Shammai, the original teacher he had approached, and he says, why didn't you tell me? I will never qualify for this. And doesn't say anything else in the story. Then he went to the house of Hillel and said, you are blessed. May you be blessed and blessed and blessed, best than the rest. Because of you, I got to be under the wings of the divine presence. He was very, very happy. So in the end, he didn't get what he really wanted in the beginning, but he got what he really wanted. I once had a coach, training video that I listened to from Dean, this guy Dean Grazioso, and he said, you give people what they want so you can give them what they really need. And, we learned from this amazing thing that in the coaching counseling process, sometimes we have to give people what they want in order to give them what they really need. And as parents and teachers and coaches, counselors, social workers, it's a very, very important principle in order to give people what they want in order to give them what they really need. And you see that Hillel saw the deep determination, the deep desire of this person to come close to God, even though it's coming out in this sort of, fakakta sort of way that it's like, what? Like you want to become the highest position with the most wealthy clothes that I know you won't even qualify for. And yet he looked past that and he saw the good behind that layer in the other person, which is amazing. So let's go back to this original story about the client who the gift cards for rock climbing, the gift cards for everything else, who asked, is this really so spiritual? And the answer is absolutely yes. And I think it's comparable. How so? Because we're dealing with body self that we have. And we need our body self to be on board with us. We need it to ride. We need to ride that horse and it to go forwards. If we don't ride that horse, if we don't convince our horse to go forwards and do healthy things, right, and serve God and take care of ourselves, our family, our souls, we won't get to the connection and be under the wings of the divine presence. Let me explain. So when I do something for, quote, the wrong reason, what am I doing? In the Torah, we call this concept lishma, lo lishma, balishma, or lo lishma, lo lishma, which I think, if I'm saying that right, which means not for a good reason, will come to a good reason, a good purpose, not for a good purpose, and will not come to a good purpose. And so when it's mixed, it's not necessarily for a good motivation, but it's going to come to a good motivation because the path of the Torah and the path of true spirituality, it circles in on itself and it ultimately become more and more pure. So I think that when we're dealing with our animal selves, we want to move ourselves more and more out of the animal self into the human kingdom, we need to work with ourselves correctly. I need to have self-care. We needed to, incidentally, this person that I was working with, they said, when going through the list of things that they would accomplish through a gift card to self, to read 3 hours a week of spiritual and study. That only took like $15. That's 3 hours. And it was the lowest number. And you see that her true desire is to become spiritually connected. And there are things in the way. And when we put the things out of the way and we fuel ourselves through creativity and strategy, that's amazing. It's similar, I would say, to parenting, that if I give a kid a reward for every time they give charity, I'm training them to give charity. If I pay someone to give charity, like sum total, I didn't give much charity, right? I gave $5 for you to give $5. But the kid's learning that giving charity is a special thing. And when I get my horse to work for me, the horse is being trained. And like that non-Jew in the story, the horse self of him was like completely wanted kavod, wanted to be honored and respected and admired. But through the process, he actually learned to have fear of heaven, and to have humility. And so by the end, his real desire was to get connected to something of value. And ultimately, he got the thing of real value. He got the connection to God. He got the good life. He got the good life on the good path. So let's be creative with our horse selves, and let's make sure that we use our own lower selves. We look at the nature of our lower self. We look at that horse. Does this horse need a lot of hay? Does this horse need a lot of petting? But we want to get somewhere in life. We want to ride somewhere. We need to ride our horse, and we need our horse to cooperate. But not only that, we need our horse to want to ride. You see, in the nature of horses, they want to be ridden. I remember I have a client who owned a horse, right? And I didn't realize the horses need to be ridden a certain amount of day. And one of the expenses, it's either to pay somebody else to ride the horse. The horse needs to ride. I think our horse wants to ride, and our lower selves has an inherent essence that wants to become holier and do spiritual things. And so when we work with that and we uplift it, that's one of the most spiritual things we can do. So let's strengthen ourselves to look at ourselves and work very cleverly to overcome and to utilize some of the main characteristics of our horse self. Have a great, great night.